Gill, and welcome. It's really nice to see you today. Now, could you just tell us a little bit about you and your business and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my business is called Successful Women, and I suppose my strapline is that I create or help create successful women in business by changing their state of mind. So that's, a strapline for want of another word, but I've got what I like to think of as a portfolio career.
Oh, right.
So I do a number of different things. So I do speaking, which I guess we're going to talk about.
Yes.
I write. I've written a couple of books. I love writing. I've never got enough time for it. I do training, programs, workshops, that sort of stuff. And I've just started a podcast show.
I know. We'll come on to the podcast show later.
Okay.
So most of the work you do, just carrying on from that, your business, is it with women?
It's all women.
Women.
Yeah, I spent 30 years in, for want of another word, the corporate world, in something of a male-dominated organisation. That's fab. Love working with guys, but now I really do prefer to work with women.
Jill loves us women. Woo!
Yeah, great to see people grow. And I didn't mention coaching because I do coaching too.
Okay, so we know now that you really work on behalf of women and their confidence and business and all the rest of it. Are women more likely to set up a business or less likely, in your opinion?
Well, if I think about conversations, particularly recently with guests on my podcast show, this is the sort of question that comes up frequently, not question, but a response that comes up frequently. And I guess the majority of those who've worked, particularly in the corporate world, tell me that once they'd had a family, they found that really quite difficult to juggle. So they went for freelancing, entrepreneurship, for the flexibility that it offers.
Yeah.
Having said that, the other issue I think for women sometimes, which takes it the other way, is that sometimes it's a big scary step. So sometimes our confidence might not be at the right level to help us do that. So, I know lots of women who will say to me, "Oh, I wish I'd done this years ago." And it was probably that, the confidence, responsibility. And I think we're a little, generalising, sometimes a bit more risk averse, maybe.
Yes. But do you think that with the economic climate change, especially in the last few years, more women who may be being made redundant now, so have a bit more money in their pocket, are taking the plunge?
Oh, definitely. Because I think that helps that big step be less scary if you've got a package of some sort. But I think more and more, women are quite in tune in terms of their working with their values and wanting to do something that they want to do.
Yeah.
So, we've all got different financial responsibilities, and that might hinder us or otherwise decisions that we make about our careers. But yeah, I think the statistics will say there's so many more female entrepreneurs now than there have ever been. Lots of part-time work, I think women following the passion, really.
Backbone of the country, really, all that part-time and work.
Yeah.
So, you've been around a while, and you said you're a speaker and you've written books. So I'm assuming that you find yourself telling people a lot about what you do. Do you do a lot of speaking?
Yes, I do. I do a lot. I think, when you talk about speaking, I do public speaking, for want of another word. So I go and do paid gigs.
Yeah.
But I do lots of networking. And when I set up my company, the way to get myself known, if you like, was network. I read an article once that said effective entrepreneurs should be networking 60% of the time. That's a hell of a lot of coffee and cake, but that's debatable, I think. Yeah, but I think if you're going to put yourself out there, you have to volunteer for speaker slots and stuff in new networks, that sort of thing. So I do quite a lot of that. In fact, I'm doing one on Thursday locally.
Oh, right.
So that's a local event that's being run by one of our banks, and they need a speaker, and I'll tip up and do my bit. So it's all speaking, isn't it? But then the networking is because, as you've got to stand up, and usually most network events, you've got to stand up and do a minute or whatever.
Yes.
So it's all about being able to project yourself in the right way.
I must say that since I started networking this year, that has been made a huge difference to my business. And I'm quite happy to start up.
Yeah. Well, I could spend all day talking about myself. But anybody that knows me would tell you.
Out it comes. So tell us then, if you can think back to the first time you were asked to speak publicly in front of a group of people, how did you feel?
Well, if I'm really truthful and honest with you, I can't remember. It's too far ago. It's too long ago. I suppose I ought to share what I did for a living prior to setting up my company, because that's relevant.
Yeah.
So I was a police officer for 30 years.
Ah.
And you do lots of speaking in public there.
Yes, because you were quite high ranking, weren't you?
Yeah, I finished as a chief superintendent, so it was pretty cool. But
a lot of speaking then.
A lot of speaking. But I'm thinking more about when you put the uniform on and you're walking around, you've got to have confidence in what you're saying, because people look to the uniform as an expectation that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so there will be situations where you've got to have some sort of presence to be effective.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're coming up to a crowd and telling them all to wind their necks in and do as they're told, you're speaking in public, really, aren't you?
Absolutely.
So I remember being in lots of situations where I was petrified, but actually my experience told me that you can't show it.
It's funny because I always say to women when I'm talking, the audience will love you. They're there because but in your case, it was the...
No, not always. Not always. No. But really good character building stuff.
Oh,
and I am confident that that's the reason why I'm confident. I know that's the reason why I have less of a concern at standing up in front of people, because if I'm really honest with you, Bev, most of the time you're blagging it anyway. Most of us are.
Yeah.
I don't go out and not know my stuff. I don't go out.
That's it. No, yeah.
But you've got to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And when you're in that sort of job, and there's lots of people in different jobs, doesn't have to be the police, you've got to go do it. And the more you do it, the more you believe it.
It's interesting, because you said, putting on the uniform, people, it's an expectation and all the rest of it. And it makes me think that a lot of women, if they, when you're in business, if you really, really, really know your stuff, that's a bit like having your uniform on.
Yeah, and I think, I run a variety of different training courses. There's one particular one, a Springboard program that's is 4 workshops over a 3-month period. And I am very clear when I do that, and some of my others, the dress and the heels come on, not too high anymore because I've got bunions, but that's the type of uniform. When I go out, when I'm sat at home and I'm coaching, it's quite casual. But when I go to a network event that I'm chairing, when I go and do my presentations, a type of uniform comes on, because I've got a wardrobe full of dresses and I'm going to get my money's worth out of them.
Oh, absolutely. And she does look posh, lady. She really looks posh at events.
Thank you.
Very posh. I can't compete, so I don't bother.
That's not a competition.
So, do you have any sort of tips or things that you can say that help you manage your foods, or would help other people manage? Because we say just go up and do it. We've had years of practice.
Yeah. No, I think, this is something that I know you do the same as I do in terms of coaching women to stand up and just do their 1 minute. That's scary enough.
Yeah.
So there's a few things. On a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is death, where is this? And despite what people say, it's an 8. It's usually probably only a 2 or a 3.
I've not yet anyone who's died public speaking. No. Not yet.
What's the worst can happen? Well, you could walk on stage with your dress tucked in your knickers, I suppose, but that's, again, less likely. So, what's the worst would happen? And I say to people, put yourself in the shoes of that audience. How many times have you sat and watched somebody speak? And what do you think? Most people don't sit in front of a speaker to heckle them or give them a hard time or think badly of them. Most of us, particularly women, have real empathy with whoever stood there. And if things go wrong, it didn't go right, we feel terrible, don't we?
Yeah,
so that's the bit I think to hang on to. But I guess my tip would always be practice, practice, practice.
Yes.
In front of a mirror, by yourself, in front of your mate. Because that's, if I go back to my police example, that's what I did. I had to go out. I had to look like I knew what I was talking about. And eventually you start to believe your own story.
And again, speaking is part of your business marketing. If you're going to grow your business, you've got to speak. So you've got to get past it. And I always say to women or whoever I'm coaching, really, if you know who your audience are and you know why you're there, then they want to listen to you. I don't know many butchers that will go and do a speech at a vegetarian conference.
No, indeed. Or people that have been dragged into the audience not really wanting to be there. It's a bit different.
Not press gagged anymore.
But that's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember a talk I did at a big company locally, a corporate event. and it was a mixed audience. Now I do some mixed audience. I quite like it. I've got a talk that's about the difference between men and women in terms of communication. And I remember stood there. It wasn't a very big room, and there was one guy staring out the window the whole time. And you know what it's like. You think, oh dear, this isn't going that hard. And then you're looking at everybody. Oh, the women are all nodding. But of course, my talk tells me that the women will nod because they're listening, and men tend to just sit there and listen. They only nod when they're
soak it in, don't they?
Yeah. But I was convinced that this bloke was really, you know, he didn't want to be there, and he was the first person to come up afterwards and buy my book for his wife. So it just goes to show.
You never know.
No idea. No idea.
So now that's speaking in public and with your audience in front of you, and I always think that's a lot easier, actually.
Yeah.
So how do you feel when you're doing webinar, when you're doing video? So you haven't actually got live people.
Sorry, I'm laughing at. I've got really carried away with Facebook Live. You know, where you record into the page, and yes, it's turned into a bit of a comedy act now. So I love it. Not so much webinars. I don't know what. I haven't really. I've done recorded webinars.
Yes.
I don't know really. Am I being put off by the prospect of? I don't know. I suppose there's something about I could be doing this to, you know, empty place. And I'm talking to myself because nobody turns up. Whereas I've recorded and put it out there, doesn't really matter who's turned up, does it? And maybe if I'm really honest, there's probably something in there. I probably should push myself into a live webinar and have all the chat and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I love video. Like I say, I could talk about myself all day long.
So for you, when you're talking on video or Facebook Live, do you actually picture the person you're speaking to?
No. Well, yeah. Well, no, I don't picture them, but I think of the people. You see, I've got a variety of groups and a couple of business pages. So I guess whichever one I did, my very first one was into a group, and that was a tip I picked up from Amy Porterfield. I listen to her podcast all the time, Marketing Guru. And she was trying to get into it, and she was quite nervy about it. So she went into one of her groups and told them that's what she was going to do. So that's what I did my very first time. I told one of my groups, my 90-day challenge group, I told them when I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And then, well, the first one went wrong because we got stuck in bank holiday traffic. I forgot it was bank holiday. and then I got really distracted because half a dozen people turned up and they started commenting and little hearts were going across the screen. And I was completely distracted. So since then, I've just done them.
Yes.
Because you can keep the video. And I've recorded one of my podcasts live that was quite popular. So I'm planning on doing another one of those because, at the end of the day, from a business perspective, it gets you better engagement, as you know.
Yeah.
But I think, we all get a bit bored of looking at the same stuff, don't we? And it's nice to have a video.
Have to stand out from the crowd, be yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, if people like you and I are prepared to put ourselves out there, and I won't say look a fool in your case, Bev, but a little bit daft in my case, particularly when
the colour of my hair.
Oh yes. But I put on another pair of glasses that I've got. I've got two pairs of glasses, and I was doing this. I put the glasses on because I looked at the video. The one I'd done a couple of days previously was in the afternoon when my face had time to settle. This next one was in the morning. Those bags under my eyes. So I put my glasses on, and then they wouldn't stay on. They kept falling off. I was oh my goodness. Anyway, quite a few people thought it was hysterical. So there you go.
That's what people remember. And that's the main thing. Then they remember the message. So.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pop on about your podcast, because you do your podcast, and I've listened to a few of them, and one of them I saw, it was actually live.
Yes.
So are all your podcasts live?
No, that was just a one-off. That was just after I'd heard about Facebook Live. So normally they're just audio. I record them on... I do go locally. I take my microphone out, but it does take up a big chunk of the day. So I'm doing more and more on Skype, and I've got quite a few women lined up all around the world, which is clearly I'm doing on Skype. So I chat on video, but then I just go to audio because you can guarantee the connection much better if you just...
Yeah. Okay.
So it just so happened that the woman that I was interviewing I knew was a good sport, and it was a bit of a giggle, and I enjoyed it.
It was great. It was great.
Oh, good.
I have to say it.
I enjoyed it.
Go and find her podcast show. They are well worth listening to.
Thank you.
They're really good fun as well. So, what was it like winning the Venus Awards for influential women?
It was amazing. So that was last year, the Dorset Regional Award.
Just to let you all know, Jill won the Venus Awards for Influential Women. Georgie has a crown and a sash. Yeah. How's that gone?
So that was the Venus Awards are run in lots of regions around the country for people that don't know. And the Dorset region was towards the end of last year, and I won the Influential Woman category. And so now I go forward along with women from other regions to the national finals, which are next month. Fingers crossed.
Oh, fingers crossed. Think about, woo.
Yeah. And don't plan a speech. Plan that humble face when, like the Oscars, when you lose, what you're going to say. Oh, I'm so pleased she's won. Yeah, that one.
You have to practice that one really hard. So I just spotted a dog jump up on your couch or jump off.
Oh, my Coco. Yes, my baby.
That's Coco.
This is Coco. She needs a haircut.
Oh, how beautiful.
She's a miniature schnauzer.
Oh.
And you're very tired, aren't you? Because we've had a long walk.
I say she does look tired.
And she needs a haircut. Anyway, dog away.
Yes, that's the dog.
Dog stuff over.
So Jill, just tell us then quickly, how can people want to work with you or follow you or get your book?
Oh, yes.
Give us some details about where we can find you.
You can find me all over the shop, Bev.
That's true.
Yeah, the website is www.successfulwomen.training. You can email me, jill@successfulwomen.training, and there's no .co.uk or .com after it, it's just .training. My Facebook page is successfulwomen.training. The page is called Successful Women, that's what you have to put in. And the other one is the Successful Women Podcast Show. And I run a couple of groups, which is Successful Women in Business and Successful Working Mum. So I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and anything else you can do.
A very, very busy lady, so you can't miss her.
No, you can't miss me.
You can't miss her. So thanks, Jill. That's been brilliant. It's been lovely to talk to you and chat to you. And you have a great week.